Nora, good morning. How are we doing?
Good morning, John. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you perfectly. What's going on?
Okay, good. Well, first off, thank you for taking the call.
Absolutely. Thanks for calling in.
I wrote it down so I could be very precise. Son, senior in high school, diagnosed with ADD, between third and fourth grade, also diagnosed with anxiety, has an IEP, has a therapist, had all the special education teachers, and some were good, some were bad, and no matter what we did, it still seems like they're making him feel like it's just sort of glossed over, his ADD. And so now that he's a senior in high school, he's, kind of miserable, and I don't feel like he's learned the executive skill set that he needs, and I actually started to resent it somewhat. But your broadcast where you had the adult ADD and his wife really spoke to me, and that's when I was able to release that resentment. So I'm trying to help him now. What can I do?
Awesome. So walk me back to your beautiful little boy at third grade, fourth grade. What was going on in your heart and mind that let you know he's struggling?
Well, we were blessed. My husband is the son of educators.
Okay.
And my husband has some anxiety issues as well, so we could spot it pretty easily in our oldest son. And so we privately had testing done between the 2 years.
But what caused the testing? What was going on in your son's life that made you think he needs to be tested for something?
He was very sensitive. In third grade, thinking that he had something wrong with him, they put him in this class with people who weren't being looked after, if you know what I mean. They had issues, but for whatever the reason, the family wasn't available or whatever, I don't know. But he is like in kindergarten, he would cry. That was normal. And later on, he would cry, and that wasn't normal or considered normal, and so he switched it to anger. So there was a difficulty being able to manage whatever stimuli was in front of him, and if he was very frustrated. And then my husband looked at it and said, "We are pulling him out. We're going to send him over. We're getting into better school." And then also we had him tested, and we had, and we moved forward from there.
So what was going on in your home environment during that time? When I think of anxiety, it's an alarm system. When I think of ADHD, it is just a biological and neurological response. It's a natural response to chaos. What was going on in y'all's home? And this isn't an accusation. This is just a mining process. We're just going for a walk together in the woods. What was going on there that let this little boy not feel like he could be heard or feel like he was disconnected? What was going on there?
Well, there wasn't anything in particular. We were living in a townhouse, and everything was reasonably okay. We were concerned for him because of this. But, from the day he was born, he was always sensitive.
Okay.
And to be honest, I don't know if you even want to go there, but I feel like he's an empath as well. I don't know if that makes it worse or not, but we can move on from there.
Sure.
But the environment, it was more stimulated because we were near a highway. But otherwise.
But you told me his dad was anxious. So
yes,
how does dad deal with anxiety?
He went to a therapist and was on medication and is still on medication and still does the therapist. So
what I'm trying to back out is less. Please hear me here, and everyone listening to this. I've met with folks who just break down in tears when we have these conversations, and it's not about accusations. It's about awareness, right? It's not about blame. It's about trying to just say, "Oh, okay, I see that." Because that's the only way we're going to solve the problem down the stream here. So if you got a dad with anxiety, how does dad deal with stress? Does he disconnect? Does he get loud? Does he go for walks? What does dad do for stress management?
I would say that he disconnects more than anything in the same room. But
that's the way I do it. And I have found over the years that may be the most insidious way, because when somebody disappears out the front door, you know there's a break. You know they're gone. When somebody's with you, it's like almost this ghosting gaslighting. I'm with you, but I'm completely disconnected from you, and it makes people feel crazy because you're with them in body, but you're not with them in spirit. How do you deal with stress and frustration? How do you deal with anxiousness? Yeah, you.
I'm still working on it.
I know, but how do you deal with it?
Oh, I somewhat disconnect as well.
Okay. So take me back to 15 years ago. What was going on in y'all's world where something would come home, your husband would get frustrated, or he would take some medication, he would sit like a zombie or a disconnected person who's with everybody in the living room, and then you come in and things haven't been done, you're frustrated. What's your internal response or external response?
Well, first off, I was at home. I was an at-home mother.
Okay, great.
So when Dad would come in, he would talk to me. Mm-hmm. He would play with the kids. He would play with the dog. And then he would sort of check out. We would have dinner.
Sure.
I really want to answer your questions, but I'm not sure I know the answers.
Well, and again, I'm just trying to give myself some breadcrumbs to follow here into the woods. So fast forward to me now. You've got a son. How old is he?
17.
17. So is he a senior now? Is he a junior now?
He's a senior.
Okay. So this is his last year before he starts heading out. So what does anxiety look like for him now? What does ADHD look like for him now?
You're talking about checking out. He uses the computer to check out.
Okay.
And that's pretty much his only thing, although he does do a little gardening.
Okay.
In terms of ADHD, it's a lot of anxiety. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of trying to figure out how to do work without having a bunch of people nag him. Mm-hmm. Because, to be honest, that's what the school system did. They basically just nagged him to get his work done. And I feel like that's not really teaching executive skills.
How did you guys support him?
We did what we could. I tried to learn what I could, but I tried to rely on the school system because I didn't want to get into, it's that catch-22. You want to help, but you also don't want to get in the way of what the professionals should be doing. Now that he's in high school, he has his special ed teacher, and the guy's really, really nice, but he's not teaching any skill sets that my son really needs.
So listen, a lot of your response is super common for folks with special needs kids, for folks with young kids, or for older kids who they are just butting heads with, or they are just kind of at a loss. Okay, but every time I'm asking you a question, you're pointing to somebody else as the problem. And so I want to get from you is, over the last 10 years, over the last 5 years, over the last 5 months, how are you encouraging him to get his work done? How are you reconnecting with him? How are you setting up situations where those alarms are going to come down? Because here's the deal, anxiety, ADHD, those are contexts. They're not an excuse. You still got to get your work done.
Sure.
Right? You still got to go do those things. And blaming all these external systems, while it's real, it's hard and it's annoying. Some schools are super equipped. Some teachers are extraordinary. Some maybe aren't. Nobody can replace the mom and dad in this situation. And so your school system isn't going to solve this problem at age 17. The healing is going to come from you. But it's got to start with you being reflective, saying, what am I bringing to this situation? Because it's my son. So I only can talk to you, Joey, and you're the only one on the phone with me. When your son is struggling, when he is like having mythical thinking about time, or he is real frustrated because he's procrastinating again, or he can't find his hat again, or his keys are missing again, how do you participate in what happens next?
For the last couple of years, I think it's been difficult to be patient, but at the same time, I am his sounding board. I am the one he comes to. I do work with him as best I can. I also work with the school system to see. I was writing emails going, give me advice. Tell me what to do. Talk to the administration, anybody I could talk to get more insight into what to do. Now, these 2 years were the hardest. It turns out that my son, the freshman year and the sophomore year, Nick, my son was doing much better. Really grasping, really enjoying school. And school was done at school, and then home was home. And then the way they have it set up here, the junior year, for whatever the reason, is meant to be the hardest. And so it really taxed all of his abilities. And we got tutors, and we got, whatever we needed, but it was very hard for him. And then, of course, COVID came in, and it was, everything turned upside down.
But listen, hard is a good thing. Hard is a great thing. It can be challenging, and some schools can be failure factories. But hard is not a bad thing. Taking a kid who is able to skate through his freshman and sophomore year and then runs up against the brick wall that is your junior year, that's pre-cal, that's all that, that's getting into some really complex things. It's getting past the social studies stories, and now we're getting to the depth. That's good stuff. And when a kid runs up against hard, and we're in a system where it's like, man, the school's not helping enough, or we've got to fill in the blank XYZ, we've got to get this expert and that expert. Walk me through, what is it that makes you uncomfortable about your kid struggling right now? Because he should be. He's a senior in high school. I want that to be hard, because then next year it's going to be college, and that's going to be real hard.
It's living with it. It's making sure that he has what he needs. He doesn't want us to do things. It's that age where he doesn't want us to.
Okay, you're on it. You're on it now, Joanne. You're on it. Okay, listen.
My name's Nora. It's okay.
Oh, Nora, I'm so sorry. Okay.
It's okay.
We'll go back. I keep going to Joanna. All right, so you're on it, Nora. You're on it. So here's the thing. You are uncomfortable with how he's struggling. How is he doing?
Well, he doesn't like it either, obviously.
Of course he doesn't. He's not supposed to. But how is he doing?
I'm not sure. We are about to approach midterms, and he's not telling us anything. I ask him broader questions like, okay, are you getting things done? Is there anything I need to be concerned with? Is there anything you need, help with, or, and so forth like that? I ask those kinds of questions so that they're broader, so it's a little bit easier for him to answer without getting into the weeds, because he doesn't want to tell me the weeds.
Okay, so here's the deal, Nora. He doesn't get a choice, and you don't get a choice, okay? He doesn't get a choice, you don't get a choice. He's your kid, and he's at home. Hard is good for kids. It's good for them. And when parents rush in to try to swoop and save them, it undermines their efficacy. It undermines their ability to think about how good they're going to be at something. It undermines their ability to fail and realize that's not the end of the world. It sounds like you're the one in this discomfort gap. You're the one that doesn't like to see your kid struggling with, and he's since he was little, since he came out of the womb, you guys have labeled him as sensitive, as needing a little extra help, as somebody who needs a diagnosis, as somebody who needs, he's probably going to need, he cries a lot, he's a little bit more sensitive. And instead of owning that relationally, it sounds like there's just been this gap where that's a problem. That's a thing we've got to fix. We got to get special people here. We got to do special things here. And now he's 17, and you still are feeling this weight on your heart and your mind. And so asking generalized questions to a kid that's had learning challenges, asking broad questions, no, man, you've got to get in the middle of it, Nora. You've got to take him out. Forget about the assignments. Forget about all that stuff. You got to take him out and say, how are you doing? I am your mom. I am forcing you to talk to me. You have to be in my life. You have to be in my heart. You've got to let me know what's going on in your heart, and I'm going to talk to you. And so if we're just going to go for a walk every night, great. I'm going to make you hold my hand because I am your freaking mom, and moms all across the country are laughing at me right now, and I do not care. You're going to tell your son, you got to hold my hand because I'm your mom, and you have to. My mom is 70 years old, and when I see her, she says, you have to hug me. And I'm going to anyway, but she just gets to say that because I'm her kid. I'm her son. So a 17-year-old doesn't get vague questions. A 17-year-old that you're worried about how they're processing things, you're worried about their anxiety, their disconnection. They don't get generalized questions. They get specific. Show me your work today. And is it a pain? Oh my gosh, yes. Having kids is hard. Is it a struggle? Yes. But what's going to happen is you're going to spend a semester. What's going to happen is you're going to spend a semester saying, how are things going? You got your assignments done? And your kid's going to go, yeah, I got it. I'm good. And then he's just going to go back to the computer. And the next day, how's everything going? Good, fine. And then you're going to keep going, and they're going to keep going. And then you're going to get to midterms, and they're going to have 4 zeros and 2 C's. And what you're going to do is get mad, and you're going to call the school. And you're going to say, nobody called me, nobody did this, nobody. It's your responsibility. But it starts not with the assignments. It starts not with the diagnosis. It starts not with the other people or challenges. It starts not with my kid's broken. It starts with, hey, good boy, good morning. How are you? Hey, good boy, I love you. Come over here and give me a hug before the day even starts. It starts with, hey, what's today going to look like? What's one awesome thing you're going to think about before you leave? It starts with, have you got your homework done yet? Because we got our nightly walk and we do not miss nightly walk time. It starts with, if you don't get off that computer, I'm going to throw it off the roof and we're going to watch it smash into a million pieces because my relationship with you is more important than you plugging into some dumb box. And I know this is hard. I was an ADD kid. I was an anxious kid. I still struggle with anxiety now. It's a conscious, constant battle that I got to stay in front of. I've worked with countless college students, high school students, struggle with ADD, anxiety, and it usually starts from chaos in the home, disconnection in the home, moms and dads who are trying just to keep things plugged in. This isn't a blame conversation. This is hard. Parents who are just trying to get the bills paid. Parents who are just trying to get to tomorrow. They're dealing with their own junk that their parents gave to them and that their parents gave to them, or that their community gave to them, or their country gave to them, however that works. But when you start at age 4 telling a kid that, hey, you may be broken, you're probably going to need some special stuff, they're going to live into that. And if you do have a kid with special needs, stay on top of those teachers, stay on top of those professionals who live in those worlds, and never, ever, ever think to yourself, well, I don't want to get involved. Get involved. Get involved. One of the terms I hate the most is the term helicopter parent. I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. And here's why. Your kid is the most precious thing on planet Earth to you. It does not ever occur to me to not get involved with my kids. Ever. I worked at colleges for years. I loved it when parents called. That meant that they cared about their kid. But moms and dads, brothers and sisters, you got to let your kids fail too. You got to let them experience consequences too. There's a difference between saying, hey, I'm worried about my son. Are they okay? And this is your fault. This is your fault. Nora, I know you love your boy. I want you to back out. I want you to back way out 30,000 feet. You got a year left with him. Or now you're down to 9 months before he goes to college. Or who knows how long COVID's going to last. Maybe he's going to live at home for the next few years. For the next 30 days, I want you to tell him you talked to some knucklehead on the radio who said every morning we have to start the morning with a hug. Every morning we have to start with me looking you in the eyes and telling you I love you and I'm so glad you're my son. Every morning you start with, I'm so glad that people in the world were made to feel like you do. Every morning you talk about, hey, what's today's plan? I want you to make a list with him. This is going to be for 30 days. You're going to be annoyed by this by the end of it. Make a plan for today. When he gets home at the end of that day, I want you to say, what's one awesome thought you had today? At the end of the day, I want you to hug him before you start talking to him about schoolwork. At the end of the day, I want you to say, what assignments do you have today that you need to get done? How can I help you? I want to see them before you're done. And before you get on the computer, we go on for our walks. And that means we don't get on the computer tonight. That means we don't get on the computer tonight. We're going to go out and garden together. We're going to go out and kick the soccer ball. And we're going to go out and do some stuff together. And I want you to try to put the assignments down. What about what? I want you to try connecting. Try connecting first. Just try. For 15 years, you've tried other things. Try this. And that's not a matter of coming in and playing with the dog and saying, no, I want you to connect. And Nora, I want to honor you for being a mom that still cares about her kid, who still loves her kid, who's still trying to figure it out, is not giving up on their 17-year-old and their 18-year-old. Millions of parents do. Thank you for being a parent that cares. Take full ownership of your boy. And start with connecting. He's worth it.